when he meets the old pro, which is played by Pat Boone, Paul actually thinks he's going to get his golf game fixed. But old pro is going to help him with his golf game. He really gets a do-over in life in the end, as the old pro really begins to drill down on what are the things that really make you tick, that are who you are. That's when we began to see he needs some help.
On the Choose to Think podcast, I will encourage and empower you to engage and optimize your best thought life in practical, meaningful ways so that you can live day by day in joy, peace, and God's purpose despite all externals. This is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Choose to Think Inspirational Podcast. You're in for a treat today because we have Rick Eldridge on the show. And I want to read his bio and then we'll officially say hello to him. But Rick has more than 35 years. He's been in the entertainment business for more than 35 years as a musician, a producer, director, and entrepreneur. He makes projects happen. And I want to circle back to that line. I love that line. He makes projects happen. Whether sports programming, live production, animated series, or feature films, Rick has been involved in every facet of creative development and production management in the entertainment industry. He's a graduate of Brevard College with advanced studies at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and Full Sail School of Recording Arts. Now, let me go on. He serves on several charitable, civic, and college university boards. In addition to the Mulligan, that's what we're going to talk about quite a bit today. That's his new movie. His creative projects include The Ultimate Gift, Bobby Jones, Stroke of Genius, HERMIE and Friends, GIGI, Running the SAHARA, Never Again, and When We Last Spoke. So, Rick, welcome to the Choose to Think podcast. We're glad you're here.
Oh, it's embarrassing to hear all that, but
it is. It sounds so cool. When I read about The Ultimate Gift, I thought, oh my goodness, what a beautiful movie. What year was that? Did that one come out?
Boy, that was 2008. It's been a while.
Oh my lands. Yeah,
there was a trilogy of movies. We did Ultimate Gift, and then we did Ultimate Life and Ultimate Legacy. So there were 3 films in that trilogy. Yeah. And they've continued to play and been very successful.
Yeah. Oh, good. I look forward to watching some of the other ones. I've only seen actually The Ultimate Gift. Did watch the Mulligan, and what a treat that was. So let me just give the viewers and the listeners a little bit of a background on the Mulligan. It's an inspiring story about relationships, forgiveness, and second chances. Paul McAllister seems to have it all as a successful businessman, but his life starts to fall apart. Guided by the wisdom and advice of an old golf pro, Paul learns about playing a good game both on and off the course. Based on the popular book, The Mulligan is an inspiring reminder that second chances are only one shot away. Tell us what your involvement was in that movie.
Well, probably about every level of it. I actually secured the rights from Ken Blanchard, and Wally Armstrong, who wrote the original book, and then instigated the screenplay, which I did actually with 2 of my sons and another script consultant, and then I produced the movie. I kind of managed production and then distributed it. So pretty much been my baby all along, I guess. I call it the senior point of blame. If anything goes wrong.
That's right. When will it actually release?
It releases for home video use on the 16th of August. Okay. We did a limited theatrical back in April and had a fantastic, Fathom event, 2-day Fathom event with that. A lot of great coverage, and we will be on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, just anywhere you can get DVDs. The physical product will be at Walmart, all on August 16th.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell us, Rick, what was the most challenging aspect of doing this particular movie?
Well, that's a great question for this one, because we started the film 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago now. But we were in production 2 weeks away from shooting. The Georgia governor, we were in North Georgia, sends out an edict that says if there are more than 10 people in a room working together, you need to disperse. And this was the beginning of COVID. So I looked around and there were 75 of us. And so I just said, guys, I don't know what all of this is about yet, but we got to go home. And so we called all of our actors. We sent 75 people home. We canceled flights, and we didn't know what was going to happen. But it was exactly a year later before were able to get everyone back together to go again. So I tell people the Mulligan actually got a mulligan.
That's right.
But it was a very difficult time, and that whole year was obviously a time of change for everyone. And then when we came back into production a year later, we had all of these protocols that had been put into place with COVID. It's hard enough just to make a movie, and now we've got to deal with all of this protocol stuff. We had to test over 200 people that were on our cast and crew 3 times a week. And it was all about safety and trying to keep distances, and yet we were making a movie where you've got to have a lot of close connectivity. It was something I'd never done before, and we were kind of learning as we go. So it was a very difficult film to make from that standpoint. But I think everyone, it really brought everybody together too, and we worked as a unit, and I think seamlessly made that happen without masks showing on the screen. So it was pretty good.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That kind of reminds me of that season when I was teaching Spanish in the university classroom face to face. I now just teach online, but at that moment, everything had to change. And I had to wear a mask and the shield, so students couldn't even see my mouth moving. And then I had to stand so far away from them, and I couldn't even look down on their paper, like to say, oh, they would say, is this right? And it just involved such a whole new dynamic, even looking out at the classroom and students seats apart and scattered in this big auditorium. And what about partner drills? How do I do those? And I can't imagine what it might be like in that type scenario for filming. My goodness. Okay, so that was definitely challenging. What was the most fun aspect of making this movie?
Well, we had an incredible cast, and we did have a real good just connectivity with each other. And we were in a beautiful area. We were on a golf course a lot of the time, and so it was a lot of fun. I mean, I'm a golf nut, and being out in the open fields and the beautiful landscapes that we were at Currahee Club, it was a lot of fun, and I love the whole production process. The collaboration with so many people, kind of as an army, really doing the things that they do best to make a story happen.
Very good. Well, just a little bit more is if we dig deeper into the plot of the movie itself. And one of the lines here says that Paul, the main character, learns about playing a good game both on and off the course. And I'm just going to ask you personally, do you play a good game on and off the course?
Do my best. I do get a few mulligans here and there along the way, but it is interesting. Paul is a corporate executive. He has a very successful business. On the outside, he looks great. He's in charge. He's in control. He's confident. And then we learn behind the scenes that there's a lot of stuff going on. And he has a son that hates him because he's separated from his son's mother, from his wife. And there's some things internally within the company going on that even he doesn't know about, with people trying to undermine what he's doing. So there's a lot of stuff going on underneath the surface. And when he meets the old pro, which is played by Pat Boone, and Pat, great, did a phenomenal job.
He did.
But Paul actually thinks he's going to get his golf game fixed. But old pro is going to help him with his golf game, and he really gets a do-over in life in the end, as the old pro really begins to drill down on what are the things that really make you tick, that are who you are. And that's when we began to see he needs some help.
Can you tell everyone exactly what a mulligan actually is in golf terms?
A mulligan is a do-over. It's you get up to the tee box, and everybody that's ever played golf, and if you haven't played, you will. If you do, gets a mulligan, because you're gonna shank a ball into the woods. You're gonna hit a ball into the maybe dribble it right off the tee. Maybe you miss the ball altogether, but it's a second chance. It's a do-over. It's take a mulligan, get another shot. And many times when you're just starting and you're playing with guys that play a lot, like your Saturday morning group or whatever, sometimes they'll call it a breakfast ball. You hit your first shot and, well, I'm not quite loosened up yet. I'm not quite together yet. So I just take a second shot. It's okay. And so that's where a mulligan began, and that's what it is. It's a second chance. So the analogy that we use for second chances around the game of golf are really what Paul got in his life, as we see the changes that happened, and the things that the old pro was able to communicate.
So beautifully too.
Yeah.
What, for some of my listeners now, or the viewers, they may be thinking, gosh, I would like a second chance in life. I want that mulligan in my life. What would you tell them? What would that all be about? Even in our Christian faith, how do we get those do-overs?
Well, I think we used the analogy in the movie of who the kind of the ultimate mulligan is our life and relationship with Jesus. And when you layer that with the message of Christ, which in the movie the old pro does so well, Pat Boone, in a very non-threatening way, shares faith, shares grace, shares God's grace and God's salvation to Paul. And that is the ultimate. God gives us an opportunity to be forgiven for those sins or mulligans or opportunity or things that happen in our life that give us the opportunity to have that second chance. And we really wanted to use this analogy through this story, which is a great dramatic story that goes through his life and those around him and the people around him, with his son relationship, with his wife relationship, his business relationship. But through it all, after hearing all of these words, Paul actually says, "You know what? I'll think about it," and doesn't quite accept it right then. But then, through a further involvement with his son, he decides to make that decision himself. So that's the ultimate mulligan.
And it was so beautifully done. One of my favorite parts in the movie was actually when it was during that relationship building stage, I believe, with Pat Boone and the main character, Paul McAllister, and just out of the blue, I can't remember the game they were playing, but it was almost like nothing mattered when you shot. Or do you remember that part? It was like, let's just go have fun. All bets off. Let's just have fun. And that was
called NATO. He called it NATO golf. And it's not affected by outcome. And
that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Which means you hit any shot you want. You want to hit it again, another one, hit it again.
Yeah, they set their par too, right? Couldn't you set your
So park, on a par 3, it could be a 6. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
But and it was all about just having fun playing golf. And we do that sometimes when we're playing. We'll have a couple little games that we'll play that really have nothing to do with shooting par. It just has to do with having fun playing the game.
Right. And that's the point I wanted to make. It was that we may rub shoulders with folks who aren't believers or who aren't living for Christ. And we never really should underestimate just what a smile might do, what an invitation might do, not to necessarily let's talk the Bible and, did you know this? And you're not doing this. And, oh, have you thought about this? But instead just to love on people and just to enjoy them and spend time and build that relationship. And we, in essence, are increasing our credibility with them and trustworthiness. So I really like that aspect of the movie. It was really, really very good. On the Choose to Think podcast, we talk a lot about our thoughts and how it's so important that we choose to think. And I wanted to circle back to something I read in your bio. Rick Eldridge makes projects happen. And I thought, I'm going to ask you, what are 3 thoughts that every person must have, according to Rick, in order to make things happen? Can you think of 3 thoughts we really should engage in?
Well, I think you have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to make sure that it's something that you can sink your life into first. I think, and once you do that, then it's having a vision or a direction or a way to get it done, and mapping that out. And then thirdly, I think it's being willing to collaborate and bring people around you that can make you better at what you do, which is really what filmmaking is. And and you can use the analogy of sports. I mean, you don't just win a team game by yourself. A quarterback has got to have somebody to throw the ball to, or to hand the ball off to, and he's got to have a line that's blocking for him so he doesn't get creamed every round. It's all of that, and in our business, it's the same way. It's a collaboration. You could almost mention any skill, and there's probably a place for it in making films. So that's the beauty of it. So I think it's all those things combined really make it happen.
Very good. Very good. And just another question about media nowadays. Why have you kind of just taken the baton or raised the torch for good, wholesome Christian media? What are you hoping to have happen in the media industry as a result of your work?
Well, I think for me, people ask what kind of movies do you make, and I don't really have a genre of film. I just do sports films or I just do dramatic features. But I think the one thing that does have to happen is I want to have a redeeming value and an inspirational message. And many of our films are, they you could almost call them, I've heard people mention it as faith light, or it's not like a evangelical message, or it's not as direct even as the Mulligan. The Mulligan was probably the most direct faith message that I've ever put on a screen. But if you looked at something like The Ultimate Gift,
right,
or the other movies that I've done, there's a God factor, there's a God value that's built into it. And there's redeeming value, there's inspiration, and that's the one criteria for me. The type of film, I've made everything from animation to sports to dramas to whatever, but documentaries. But I think that's the thing that I think has to be the thread through everything that I do.
And that kind of gives you a passion for your work as well. I always say that my work is my worship. And when we tap into our calling and our giftings, it makes what we do not necessarily easy, but we can do those things with some ease, or some that desire, that flame is just fanned within us, and we keep going. But then to top that off with with the wonderful thought as a Christian that we have a privilege, and it's the privilege to inspire, or the privilege to share the gospel. It's just the cherry on top, really. So, well, tell everybody, Rick, where they can reach out to you. You mentioned the movie again, but can we see a trailer now, or is there something,
Yes.
some place we can go?
Yes, go to themulliganmovie.com, or go to the Mulligan Movie on Facebook, or Instagram, anywhere that you usually go. And if you type in the Mulligan Movie, you can get to us. And there's trailers, there's behind the scenes. Our website has a lot of the making of the movie. A lot of people are interested in that, and we talked a little bit about that, and what had to happen behind the scenes, especially with the unique issues we had to deal with COVID and the protocols. We did a daily kind of report, 2-3 minute little short of everything that happened throughout the making of the movie. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of rich stuff on the website to check out, and you'll see information about the release and about all new things coming too. So that's the best place to get information.
That's wonderful. And I'll be sure to put all the links in the show notes and the YouTube description of the video. So listen, we thank you so much for the work. I can see how God has shown his favor upon you and your work, your ministry, and just so grateful that I can sit down at the screen and watch a movie that is uplifting, inspiring, and that increases my Christian faith. So I just love it, and I applaud you for what you do. So thank you for being on the show.
Well, it's an honor to do that, and thank you for helping us get the word out about it. We hope that August 16th, this is an exciting day.
It's a wrap, Brain Changer. And until next time, Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Ciao.